Hi, I'm George Woodbury from College of the Sequoias in Visalia, California, and in this video we're going to go over how to solve equations by using the zero factor property. The zero factor property is based on this idea. If we have a product that is equal to zero, we know that one of those two factors has to be zero. So either A is equal to zero or B is equal to zero. And that tells us if we have an equation in factored form equal to zero on the other side of the equation, we can set each factor equal to zero and solve that. So a couple of examples to go over. The first one is 2x minus 7 times x plus 6 equals 0. This is in the perfect form for the zero factor property. We have one binomial, 2x minus 7, multiplied by another binomial, x plus 6 equal to 0. So we can begin by setting each of those factors equal to 0, 2x minus 7 equals 0, or x plus 6 equals 0, and then solving that resulting equation. To solve the first equation, add 7 to both sides of the equation. That gets us to 2x equals 7. Divide both sides by 2, and we get x equals 7 halves as one of the solutions. Now for the other solution, subtract 6 from both sides of the equation, and that gets us to x equals negative 6. So our solution set contains negative 6 and 7 halves. Note I wrote those in ascending order. They can be written in whatever order you want. So you could have put 7 halves first, negative 6 second. A little bit more about this problem before we go to the other example. If we had the equation 2x squared plus 5x minus 42 equals 0, that equation is not in the correct form to use the zero factor property. However, if we factored the left side, as is shown underneath it, then you could solve it using the zero factor property. So if you can factor the quadratic expression, it's pretty easy to solve it from there. And so factoring is always a great first choice for solving these equations. I have one more example to go over. This one, example 2, we have x times 3x plus 4 times 5x minus 10 equals 0. And what's different here is we have more than two factors, but the same property holds. One of these three factors has to be equal to 0. So either x equals 0 or 3x plus 4 equals 0 or 5x minus 10 equals 0. Now we have three equations to solve. The first one's already done. We know x equals 0. That's the first solution. If you have a factor of x or x to some power, like x squared, x cubed, you're going to get x equals 0 from that factor every time. For the second equation, subtract 4 from both sides to get 3x equals negative 4. Divide both sides by 3, and you end up with x equals negative 4/3 for your second solution. For the last one, 5x minus 10 equals 0. Add 10 to both sides of the equation, 5x equals 10. Divide both sides of the equation by 5, and we get x equals 2. So we have three solutions here. I'm going to start with the negative solution, negative 4/3. 0 would be next in ascending order, and then finally 2. All right, so that's a quick walkthrough of the zero factor property. We'll move on in the next video to take a look at a different property for solving quadratic equations.